Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pro Cheer and Dance Report. It's Erica Dawn here, and today I have two very special guests that we will be talking about all things sports. So, if you are ready, let's get right into it. Hello, everyone, again, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Pro Cheer and Dance Report on the Rising with Dawn Dance Co. YouTube channel. I'm so glad that you are back with us. Today, I am joined by two very special guests and two great friends of mine. I have James and Bryant, who are two very intelligent, educated black men who also happen to be very big sports fans. So I thought it would be very appropriate to have them come on and highlight them today on my channel as we talk about our opinions as it is pertained to the restart of the NBA, the NFL, along with a few other social injustice topics that are floating through the news right now and current events. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce both of these guys to you. First is James, who is a host and panelist of the Goonaverse Sports Podcast, and also Bryant, who is a content creator here on YouTube as well with Shooting the Brick, which is the YouTube channel here. And he's also a Laker fan. James is a huge Falcons fan, as you can see, with all of his Rise Up gear and everything he's got going on in the background. So I am going to give the floor to both of them and let them both tell you a little bit about their self, and then we'll get into what this episode is really going to dive into. So James, you want to tell the people about you and who you are?
Will do. Well, once again, I am James Stevens. I'm an original Atlanta native. Grew up in Cobb County area. Went to college at the Tennessee State University, class of 2005, computer science major. Came back to the A, born and raised here. I'm an Atlanta sports fan all the way in and out and through. I work in healthcare IT myself. Also, I do coach football, coaching a prep academy, which is post collegiate. Also, I'm on, like she mentioned earlier, the Goonaverse Sports Podcast. I'm a co-host on there. If you want to find us, you can look at us on Instagram at the Goonaverse, or you can find us on Spotify, iHeart Radio, Apple Podcasts, and a bunch of other podcast methods out there as well.
Awesome. Yay. Thank you for being here. And Bryant, tell the people about you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy, Bryant. I'm going to just go with that. Also known as Credit Striker for the gaming community. I am one of the YouTube, the content creators for Shooting the Brick with that guy, Murph TV. You can check us out on Twitch. We can check us out on Instagram or in the community. We are always around playing games for sports. We are into just having fun and being there with the community of the gaming world. But for myself, I am a Morehouse grad, a Laker fan from LA. So, I got to wrap everything Dodgers, Lakers, Raiders when they were in LA. And then when they moved on to Las Vegas. But we're not going to talk about that right now. So, yeah, I am a big Lakers fan. Before LeBron and after LeBron, it's always going to be the Lakers. God rest his peace, Kobe, all day. You can check us out, like I said, on YouTube, Shooting the Brick. It's there. Come and join us.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. All right. Very good introductions, guys. I appreciate that. So again, everybody, so as y'all know, mostly I'm on here talking about virtual auditions and updates on upcoming auditions that are happening, especially now as it pertains to this pandemic situation that we are in. And every video, I usually state that we don't know what the future holds as far as these leagues are concerned and how their startups are going to work. I'm seeing both sides where some teams seem to be like, nah, it ain't happening. And then on the other side, it's like, we're ready to go. So it's kind of confusing. So I brought both of these guys on today to discuss our opinions on how that looks as far as a startup is concerned, and just a few other things that are just going on right now that I don't really want to talk about myself. I love sports, obviously, but I don't feel like I can sit here and just spew out all this information about sports by myself. Sports and politics, those are two favorite things for me to talk about right now. And both of those, I don't feel like necessarily the best for me to talk by myself, and also probably not the best idea because, I'm a very opinionated person, as both of these people know that I share my opinion and I have no problem doing so. So, yeah, so we're going to get right into it. Don't worry, at the end, I'm going to talk to you all about some things that are coming up that are strictly pro cheer and dance related that I have coming up for you. So make sure that you watch all the way to the end so that you can get that information. And be sure to check out other videos that I have going on. I haven't forgotten about you guys as far as the recap. I don't really want to call it a recap, but I'll say the overview of the previous audition that just happened last week with the Atlanta Hawks dancers and how that all went. That is coming to you in a couple days as well. So be sure to check out that video when it drops. And I'll probably have a part 2, part 3, part 4 of the Atlanta edition of virtual auditions, just because I know that they're doing things a lot for social media content, and also because I'm here in Atlanta. So obviously I'm going to pay more attention to what's going on here in the city than anywhere else because I'm more connected that way. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into these topics, shall we? All right, so the first question I have for you guys is very simple and straight to the point. So the question really is, do you think that the NBA, NFL is actually going to restart? Obviously, we know that the NBA is kind of starting where they left off. But you can talk a little bit about what you think about that, as well as what it looks like for the 2021 season. Bryant, you wanna?
Yeah. One, I am so happy that they have restarted the season because it's been very boring without sports, anything for the last 4 months. Basically, I haven't seen LeBron James dunk a basketball. Anybody get their ankles broken or anything like that. So it's nice to see that happen. But it's kind of crazy how this whole the virus has happened and it's kind of stopped sports in general. But with with basketball, NBA trying to start back up, actually at the end of this month in July, it's giving all the other sports like some kind of hope. They're starting with 22 teams. Unfortunately, about 8 teams were left out of it, which they're 22. the bad teams, basically the Hawks, unfortunately, were one of them. The Warriors in that case as well. But 22 teams that had a chance of actually making the playoffs. They're going to give them about 8 games each, I think, and they're going to finish from there. And then those 8 teams are going to play in for the a 16-round championship, basically. And unfortunately, happy for me, my Lakers are one of the top teams and they have a chance of winning it. But a lot of players are so far are either taking themselves out of it. They're because of concerns over if the virus is going to get spread to a lot of the teams while they're playing in that big bubble. A lot of players have already come back with positive tests as well. And so a lot of people, it's just a lot of concerns with the start of this season for the NBA. So a lot of people are happy about it. A lot of the older players that this might be a chance for them to get a championship, but a lot of the younger players that are maybe on their first contract about to go into the free agency, they're like, wait, I don't want to get sick. I don't want to cause myself any like damages for money that might come in for me in the future. So it's a lot of different mindsets going on with the way that the season may pick back up. And if they do finish out the season, a lot of people are saying, well, do we give them an asterisk? Like, oh, hey, you played in a bubble season when a lot of players didn't have the chance to, finish out. But a lot of people are saying that, a lot of people are also saying that it might be even harder because you're playing around the same, in the same area. You don't have that difference in lag time, rest, all those kind of things that happen when you have a chance to play at your own house or play in your own setting. So it's I'm looking forward to it, but I'm like, wow, I hope it works, but I hope it works for the right reasons.
James, what do you think as far as the NFL is concerned?
I think the NFL is in a better position overall just because of the time frame they have. Like I said, they'll get to see the NBA start back, see how they deal with everything, especially when it comes to the COVID situation. You also have Major League Soccer coming back in the same bubble that the NBA is going to be in as well. So you're going to have two major sporting franchises throughout this country going at the same time. So NFL's in a better position, but at the same time, if you put MLS and NBA together, that's still not going to count up to how big of a one NFL team is.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, as far as the number of people are concerned,
right.
That's like the biggest eye opener as far as the NFL is, because with the NBA, it's already kind of like dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But the NFL itself, one team has probably 3 times the amount of players that an NBA team. So
you got, I mean, just let alone player-wise on a roster, you got 52 players on a roster. We haven't even talked about the coaches, training staff, medical team, none of that. And you're easily looking at about 80 to 90 people that have to be there, roughly. So, not to mention, I get emails all the time from the Falcons right now, and no one in the NFL has said that fans won't be allowed. They're still pressing forward to say that fans can come. The only thing I've heard is they're going to sanction off like the first 8 rows of the seating of all the stadiums, kind of like what MLS is, not MLS, but Premier League soccer is doing over in Europe. But of course, they don't have any fans at their games, so you're still gonna let people come. It's a lot of question marks right now, and it's gonna be really interesting to see.
Are they gonna block off the seats like 6 feet away from each other, like?
It's like, and it's gonna be hard trying to mandate people coming here, so you gotta wear a mask.
Right.
Okay. What you're going to do is this person sitting in section 105, row 3, doesn't wear their mask. Who's going to come down and take care of that? It's going to be a lot of problems.
Right. What do you think would happen during this restart, which could be some of the concern with these players? Because I've correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been seeing some players that are saying, yeah, I'm in. And then they wake up tomorrow morning and they're like, nah, never mind. So what happens if they get there and they start? Is there something that's in their contract that states like once you start, you got to stay? Or can they change their mind? Like let's say a couple people find that they test positive on a specific team. So 3 people decide, yeah, I'm going to go home because I don't feel safe. Is that allowed, or is it something like, no, if you sign on, you're here to stay. You can't leave. You can't go. You play.
That is an interesting case. Well, hopefully, I mean, like, I don't think they have that in their contract to just make them stay if they don't feel comfortable. They are a part of the, they're trying to restart. So they are giving them the players the leeway, and they're not going to be punished if they don't come. So there's a lot of players like you have your Kyrie, or you have your Avery Bradley on the Lakers, who just said, I'm not going to be able to play. I'm not going to be able to do this. And they have given them, they've allowed them to also sign other players in their space. So they're going to still be able to bring a full team, I think up to 20. I don't think I've heard that correctly, but they probably will allow them to bring extra players in order to field a full team. So you have a chance to come in by July 1st, which is today. Allow them to come in 15 days before the start of practices, all the coaches and all the players, so they can get into a area where they can quarantine and be ready to go for practice before the actual game start at the end of the month. So a lot of the teams are just getting prepared with getting their group together, who's going to play, who's not going to play, and working with that in this big bubble they're in. And so one of the interesting things I saw, it's costing the NBA $150 million to have this bubble in Orlando. So they're trying to get this thing started. So if you don't play, they're like, hey, we gotta get this thing going and get it flowing. So I feel like they're gonna do everything they can to get the season started with or without the main players.
Interesting that you mentioned them signing on replacements, because that brings me to my next question. Not to call him out, and he's a former Cavalier, so, got love for him. But what happens if you have a knucklehead? Your boy JR that just got signed to the Lakers.
I knew you were going to say that.
So I'm assuming that this whole 14 days in advance is for them to kind of quarantine beforehand so that they can make sure, okay, everybody's good. Nobody's got the virus. We good. Don't go here. You got to stay in your bunker. You can't leave. Don't go to the liquor store. Don't go nowhere. You stay right here. Now, what if there is a knucklehead player who decides that he want to go to the strip club tonight or something like that, and then he comes back and now, everybody throwing up got the virus?
I mean, that's why he got LeBron to wring his neck like he should have did after
Like,
that.
come on.
He should have did it right there on that court. But I think they're gonna have like enough time to get together and hey, we got to be a team. We got to be in the same mindset. If you're coming on this team, I think LeBron's gonna make sure, hey, we're on this team to win a championship.
But not even just the Lakers. I'm talking about in general. If there's somebody out there who's just gung-ho to play and they go out there and they come back and they spread it to not only their team, but they out there dribbling the ball, spitting on the ball and everything, giving it to the other team too. And you don't know that they was at Kiki house last night.
Who's going to be the player to try to bring a girl back to the bubble?
Right.
Exactly.
It's going to happen.
Exactly. Like, I don't know how. I don't know. It's going to be seems like it's going to be a big game of babysitting. That is going to be more of a headache to where I feel like by the time the 2021 season is ready to start, which usually is right around the corner, October, November, they're going to be like,
actually, they're going to have to start at the end of the year. So they're going to start it up in December. They're going to go right. So everything is pushed back so far. They're going to finish up the season, hopefully sometime in August. Then they're going to have the draft about 2 weeks. And then right after that, it's going to be starting up basketball season for 2020-21. So hopefully everything goes the way it's supposed to.
All right. Well, here's my next question then. So obviously we Black folks, so we know what's happening all around us right now. It's very depressing. On top of this virus situation, the fact that we're stuck inside now, we have to deal with all of these other traumatic issues that are happening around our communities. So obviously the virus and the pandemic is a situation that could potentially delay the start of these leagues coming back. But do you foresee that some of these social injustice issues and expressions of opinion behind it could also delay these things? Or do you think that it would more than likely be one or the other? Or do you think that it's possible that both could halt things for a minute? James?
I would probably say that the pandemic would be more of a reason for things to slow down or not start versus the social injustice. I mean, we can look at the NBA right now. If I remember correctly, they've already come out and said players can have special names in the back of their jerseys to, basically show their support for the social injustice going on. So we've kind of I know we may get to it later about Stephen A. about saying that just because social injustice is going on, it's been going on for years. We've been going to work still. And unfortunately, it's not going to change overnight. It's not going to change in a week, a month, or a year from now, as we wish it could. But for that to be a reason for them to stop playing basketball right now or stop doing any of these other major sports, that would not be the best method for their platform. The best method would be kind of like Colin Kaepernick. Use this platform where everybody sees you to spread the message, to spread the word. But when it comes to the pandemic, something that can affect your health, even up to the point where it could kill you or others around you, then that is a bigger cause for why you may not want to play the sport right now.
So,
I totally agree with that.
You agree with that, Bryant?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, here's what I think as far as the whole, I feel like there's a way you say things that can kind of get murky, which, if we talk about what Stephen A. said, he was responding to Kevin Durant calling Kendrick Perkins a sellout. I think part of me feels like it was a little personal because we know Stephen A.'s been called a sellout multiple times. So I feel like he was just, piggybacking on him because he's had that experience. But sometimes I feel like these sports entertainers or media personnel, they don't think about the average person, and they think about the entertainer who's going out there and has this platform but to say, that's not a reason not to go to work. I kind of disagree with that a little bit, only because it's like we talk about having our own ownership in things. Like, obviously a Black person does not own the NBA.
Right.
Currently, you know what I'm saying, in most of the teams. So, but the NBA is made up of mostly Black men. The NFL, I'm not sure what the statistics are as far as Black versus white, but there's a lot of Black men who are playing in the NFL. So sometimes I would feel like even more so than just taking a knee, don't come to work. See what happens. Because you got to hit them in the pocket in this economy that they care so much about before anybody really gives a darn. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my, like, I get that, okay, you have to have a platform to be able to spread the word. And I do think the NBA has done a good job of allowing players to do that. Their voice hasn't been muted as much as it has been in the NFL or other leagues. But at the same time, if people are saying, let's band together and, you know, hit them where it hurts, even if it's for a night, I don't see anything wrong with that. All right, what do you say?
Like with that situation, I say they are in a position where they can use their platform. Like James said, you can use your platform in a way that Colin Kaepernick did, or when Eric Reed did it, or like you have to be out there. You're not with the everyday Joe like us. We're not on the field. We're not in front of the TV. We're not in front of a camera that we can say, hey, this is what's going on in the world, and have those situations. You know, say this is something that needs to be done or corrected. So when they don't go to work or don't show up, it's I understand. We all understand because they're fighting for us, right? But take that money that those owners are giving you and put it back into your community. You know, so even if you say, hey, I'm doing this for social injustice, take all that money and put that into pockets that are going to help social injustice forward. You know.
Yeah.
So instead of just like, I'm not going to come to work, I'm not going to show up, and because of this, use that platform for our benefit. It doesn't have to go into your house, but it could go into places where it's going to make a difference, you know? So that's why I'm like, I feel what Stephen A is saying, like, go to work, because it's going to be a benefit if you use that money correctly.
Another big thing I'll say real quick is, especially coming down to us everyday 9-to-5 workers, is that it really depends on what the companies are doing. Everyone can say that they're making change. Everyone can say they're for the change, and the talk is great. It's great to hear it because you're acknowledging it. But are you just talking and saying, now we can be quiet because we think you're doing something? It's all about the actions that are coming behind those words. So for those of us, like you were saying, Erica, you know, hey, I don't want to go to work now because you don't care about us and what matters to us. Well, it changes when they actually show something behind it. Because we've all been at companies, so they say, oh, we're all for the people, we're all, you know, equal rights.
Right.
It sounds good. It sounds great on paper. We all sign that little paper when you sign a job, saying everything's going to be equal and fair, but we know it's not. But sometimes it is. So when you're at those companies where, especially in this day and age and what we're dealing with now, when they're making these statements and they're actually showing a change, that empowers you to still want to go to work. What hurts us is when we hear them say that, and then we sit back and look, it's like, oh, well, you're not doing anything. You're not making any change. You're just talking. Well, how about I just stay home? That's when that power, that's when the choice to go in and not go to work, to me, really comes to be a true positive decision.
And it depends on your importance to the company. So obviously, if, you know, back when I was working at Comcast, if I decide, oh, the owner of Comcast NBC Universal, oh, he's a racist, I'm not coming to work. They don't care if I don't come to work. You know what I'm saying?
You got 50
But
more people to replace you with.
if I am, you know, the director of sales, and I decide that I'm going to tell my whole floor, y'all not coming to work today, and they're not selling any cable or internet for that day or for that week, oh, they're going to sit back and listen to what you have to say a little bit more. So that's my point with that. Like, I don't like people go on strikes all the time. I don't see why it wouldn't be beneficial for a league that is filled with Black people if they were to strike for a day or take a couple weeks and say, we're not playing on these weeks. They're not going to get rid of everybody. They're just not. So
they can't.
Yeah. So I honestly think that would have a great impact. But like I said, with the NBA, they haven't really had that muzzle on them to not be able to speak up. But as far as the NFL is concerned, from a player standpoint and a fan standpoint, I would have been like, F y'all for now. Because y'all not listening. Which brings me to my next question. What did you guys think about Roger Goodell's apology? James, what do you think?
Once again, it sounded great. It was way overdue. It needed to be said a long time ago. It should have been said when Kaepernick took his first knee. Of course, they were trying to stand their ground for whatever insane reason they can think of. but it was something that needed to be said. It's great to hear that they said something, but now we sit back and see, okay, now you've made this big grandiose statement, grandiose apology, you didn't really say I'm sorry, Kaepernick, but we know what he was alluding to.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do now? What changes are you going to do going forward to show that you really are for all people? What are you going to do to show that you actually do care about these players, care about the coaching carousel that goes on, that we all know Black coaches don't get pushed. They got to
Right.
jump through every hoop and ladder just to get up the ladder. And me being a coach myself, as aspirations and dreams of coaching in the NFL, yeah, I'm sitting back and watching this whole thing too. I'm in a Black coaches group on Facebook, and they just reenacted the whole Bill Walsh policy where they have minority coaches coming back through the system again and trying to make it more profitable for them to move up. So it's nice to sit. It's nice that he said something. It needed to be said. It needed to be stated in the same room he did the NFL draft from. So it shows you it was actually somewhat sincere. But the next step is to see what additional changes are going to happen coming forward outside of just, I'm sorry.
Do you think that initially with the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, do you think that he was feeling more pressure as far as not being able to actually let him have a voice from the people and that are around him versus how he really felt in his heart? Which some people could say that makes his apology a little more sincere because he always had that in his heart, but he just couldn't at the time? Or do you feel like he didn't care then?
I'm going to say what we know is the root of all evil is money.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that a lot of this has to deal with the dollar bill because they're afraid if you bend the knee, for lack of a better phrase, to Colin Kaepernick, then some companies are going to back out supporting the NFL. But then the NFL will lose money. It's a bad domino effect, and he decided to choose one or the other. He's probably getting pressure from people in Congress up in D.C. and saying, no, you can't turn over. We're not going to let one person, blah, 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 blah. But like you kind of hinted at earlier, what if it was a different player doing something like this?
Yeah, didn't Tim Tebow take a knee?
Right.
And I believe they called him a hero when he did.
And we all know Tebow was not the world's best quarterback. He wasn't that good at Florida.
Well, also the statement you made as far as Black coaches and the lack thereof. There's also, I know growing up, like I obviously wasn't a football watcher, but my dad watched football all the time, and I know that a topic of conversation amongst him and his friends as they're watching is that there's no Black quarterbacks. So do you think that this, in a sense, could have been with the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, like, shut up, boy, like you ain't, like, you're a quarterback, but we gonna still show you who's boss type of situation?
Of course, that was the main situation. Like, look, with Roger Goodell, he was getting told by the owners, because he works for the owners. Basically, the owner, he works for the owners. They're his boss, and they're like, hey, we gotta keep this thing closed, tight knit. We need our money for us. And so when a lot of the companies, as James said, like they said, hey, we got to stop if you don't come to us and you don't stop him from kneeling and putting on his mockery, then we're gonna close out. We're gonna pull back our money and all our tie. Mm-hmm. So with this whole situation, Roger Goodell is trying to try to say, hey, I'm sorry for the situation, for what happened back then, but it's long overdue. And all the players and all the Black quarterbacks, there's not enough. There's a lot of good players out there that don't get a lot of shine. They don't get a lot of chances. You have a lot of backup quarterbacks that making more than Cam Newton just got his paycheck last night, $7 million. When you got Sims, all those kind of players that only have anywhere the talent that he has, and they're making $40 to $15 million sitting on their backup contract. So the quarterback position for an African American quarterback is much harder than a white counterpart. They have to do 2 times the work, they have to have 2 times the work, 2 times the talent, just to get a chance and be called something different than, oh, he's just a runner. So it's amazing to me that this quarterback situation is still happening, but like some of the younger players that are coming up, they are trying to change the mode of just not being called a runner. But it's hard for him. Like, look at Lamar Jackson. They thought he was going to be nothing out of the league, and he come out to be the MVP. Now he got to win a playoff game. We hope that's going to happen in a couple of years. But there are a lot of great quarterbacks out there that are not getting the chance that they have that a lot of their counterparts are getting. So when is that change going to happen?
It's interesting that you guys mentioned about the owners. And I'm going to try not to be too specific in my commenting here because of my former relationship, and I don't want things to get misconstrued or what I'm about to say. But if Colin Kaepernick was, per se, the LeBron James of football, we know that LeBron has had his butting of heads with owners, right? Who I also think could possibly have that attitude of who you think you are, black man. You know what I'm saying? But it's LeBron James. So what you gonna do? Nothing. You gonna sit down, you gonna shut up, and you gonna let me play on this court and get you this money, and you gonna do what I say. Now, with the NFL, obviously, there are black players that have big names that are popular and are good players. But I don't think there's anyone at the LeBron status in football that is black. Now, let's say that he were, and that him not playing would cost the NFL lots of money. Like if LeBron decided, bump y'all, I'm out, that would cost not just the Lakers or the Cavs, but the NBA altogether. If the best player in the world decides not to play, you gonna let him take his knee. You gonna be mad about it, maybe, but you gonna sit back and let him do what he got to do because, like you said, at the end of the day, it's about the dollar. So I guess it's kind of an obvious question, but what are your thoughts about that? If it were the other way around, if Tom Brady decided that he wanted to wear a Black Lives Matter t-shirt and took a knee, what do y'all think would happen?
You already know what's going to happen. They're going to say, "Oh, Brady, what do you need? What do you want? What do we need to do to make a change?"
Yep.
They're going to do whatever they need to do to make sure that they appeal to that quarterback, that player. And unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way. It should be for any player of that nature, because you were saying the closest person we got in the NFL to LeBron will probably be Julio Jones. That's probably about the closest, most dominant player in the NFL right now that everyone always talks about. But Julio's quiet. Julio don't bother nobody, don't say nothing to nobody, stays in his own lane. But on the flip side, like with everything that we just discussed going in Black America right now, Matt Ryan's been very vocal for the white quarterback. And everyone's been paying attention too. Like, oh my gosh, look at Matt Ryan, especially with, unfortunately, how Drew Brees reacted to Kaepernick taking the knee. And then you are, on one hand, you got Drew Brees over here saying, "Hey, you should always stand, doesn't matter." And then you got Matt Ryan, Black Lives Matter. I live in Atlanta. I know where I'm at. I know the people I work with and see every day. No, what do I need to do to relate to y'all to get you what you need? Then you got Drew Brees backtracking now. Half the NFL, actually majority of the NFL, was Drew Brees for the past 4 years. Now, since all the Black Lives Matter is actually taking forefront, and now you got people at Matt Ryan's probably been that way since day one, but now they feel they can actually speak without criticism, without people shunning them, without them being in fear of being the next Kaepernick.
Yeah.
It's harder.
Which I think is good, because you need white people to step up and have a voice as far as this is concerned in order for people to listen, unfortunately. Do y'all think Colin really cares about playing anymore, or do you think that that's just a media thing and they just keep like, hire Kaepernick, let him play, let him try out? But like, if it were me, and maybe it's just my attitude about things, I'd be like, F it, I ain't coming back. I don't want it. Do y'all think he really wants it, or do you think that it's just a hot topic?
Honestly, Kaepernick is beyond. Honestly, he's beyond the NFL already. He's getting the Netflix series that's coming out. Right. He's getting the documentary series. He is making more money than in outside of football than he was in football. Yeah. So, like at
without
this point,
the injuries,
right? Without the injuries, he don't have to worry about getting hit, sacked, or anything like that. And he doesn't need it anymore. It's just for people to say, okay, hey, bring him back in so you can see that we're making good on our promises of helping. Having him back in. He's not blacklisted anymore. He doesn't need that. he's like at this point in his career, like he's one of the older. He would have been an older quarterback anyway. He's probably about 34, 35 right now. So
right there.
Yeah, so he would have been on the down years of his career. He lost about 4 years of his playing time. So he's past it. I think he is doing well in his where he is right now. And the whole thing is just like you said, a media attention getter. So the media is pushing for him to play. He's not looking to play. He's done the tryout. They didn't want him then, even though he plays better than half of the quarterbacks that are playing right now. And so I'm like, look, at this point, do what you're doing and keep pushing forward in that avenue.
Well, speaking of like going back to playing, so I don't know all of the nuts and bolts of it all, but I saw something where the WNBA players are opting out of the next season because of their stance on social injustices and things like that. They want to make a statement, and they want to be that voice and say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that because it's already been an issue about them not being paid fairly for their work. And I do believe that they requested higher pay or more equal opportunity as far as that concerned, and it was denied. So after that, they were like, okay, well, not only are you oppressing us in this way, but now you are also not giving us what we are rightfully owed as women in this league. So do you think that because all of those things played a factor, that it made it a little more easy for more of them to collectively be like, we not doing it? Or do you think it's just a woman thing? Or like, what do you think about that? Or the significance of it behind it? Bryant, what do you think?
Honestly, unfortunately, the WNBA is not a money drawer like the NBA is. So it is easier for them. They don't make the kind of money that an NBA player is going to make. And so it's easy for them to say, hey, we can band together and show our support for social injustice. Their season wasn't going to be able to play this. They weren't going to be able to play at this point. So because of the chance of them not starting, and the fact that they're not getting paid the money that they deserve, and a lot of the other things that involve with that, they were like, hey, this season could be done and we can move on.
So we're also living in a world of inclusion right now, correct? Everyone wants to be included. So do you think that possibly, yes, I agree, what you're saying makes sense, that, maybe they don't really care so much about their voice right now because they're not really like affecting their pocket like that. But seeing as the climate that we're in with inclusion things, do you ever foresee in the nearable future that they will be like, all right, we're just going to get rid of the WNBA and we're just going to have the NBA, and women will be able to play amongst the men? Think about where we are right now in society. Think about the climate that we're in right now. Think about everything that's happening right now, with everything changing around us as far as being fair and being just and inclusion is concerned, and people making a stance and people going on strike and whatnot. Do you think that could possibly be a thing that could happen sooner rather than later? I know it's always something that people have had in the back of their mind and want to push for, but do you think that it could possibly happen sooner? Especially if, let me throw this wrench. Let's say a bunch
James
of
handle that one. Go ahead.
In the NBA, let's say a bunch of players in the NBA decide, nah, I ain't playing because of the virus.
You said who?
Let's say it's some NBA players that are like, nah, I ain't playing because of the virus. But you got some WNBA players who's like, yeah, I'll do it. Could that be the bridge?
Unfortunately, I don't see it happening. The main reason why it goes back to what we said before is the money aspect. Because if they're playing on the same team as LeBron James right now, I don't care if they're the number 12 person on the bench, they still want to have a salary that is respective to the rest of the members upon that team. Yeah. I think the money part is the biggest problem.
So why they
I'm not
can't have
saying
it?
they
Why
don't
can't they have that
deserve.
salary?
And I'm not saying that they don't deserve that money, because this is the same argument that the women's Major League Soccer has been having as well for the past several years. Is that they don't get, the women are not getting fair pay. And I agree, they do deserve more money because they're putting their bodies on the same risk that all the men are. There's no difference. But on the flip side of it, from an economic standpoint, the problem is, like Bryant mentioned earlier, they're not as big as a draw as people as they should be.
But maybe
So
it's because they're not being seen in the light that they should be seen.
That's also true.
So maybe once they come into the light, people will be like, "Oh snap, she cold." You know what I'm saying? But they don't know because they just are kind of avoiding that because it's the WNBA. But they come and they start winning games because y'all sports fans are serious about your sports. If somebody comes in and they start winning games and making stuff happen, they might have a different outlook on it. Like, okay, yeah, she does deserve this or she does deserve that. But I'm just throwing it out there just as far as like with everything that's happening right now, everybody wants to be included. Okay. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. I was watching, an audition the other day. She said, "Okay, ladies," and then she was like, "And gentlemen," because she forgot. Probably a guy trying out. So that's just why I threw it out there. Bryant, what do you think?
I knew she was gonna hit me with that. It's like, okay, how can I put this? All right, you remember back in gym class when you had to pick teams, and like it'd be like the guys and the girls in the same class, y'all in the same class, and they'd be like, "Hey, well, you're a good player. You might be the best player in the WNBA, but unfortunately, at this point, oh man, am I frozen again?
No, you're not.
Oh dang! I hope I was.
We were just both really still. We were so in tune with what you were saying that we were still.
All right, so if you let's say 6'8" LeBron is coming to the lane, and you have Odyssey Sims in the paint. Do you know what Odyssey Sims is? Okay. If you see her, have her in the paint. She's about 6'2". Weighs nowhere near him. You think she's gonna stay in that paint and get dunked on? That's gonna be a highlight film all over the world. So it's hard.
And then LeBron gonna feel bad.
Exactly. He's gonna feel bad.
But why? No. Why are you gonna feel bad? Everybody wants to be treated equal, right?
But so somebody don't want to get dunked. But I ain't want to get dunked on by LeBron, even me. So
right.
Here's my thing. I feel like if they want to be included in that, then you can't be offended or mad if you get dunked on. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. If you're a guy and one of these ladies come and dunk on you, you can't get mad. Like you can't get mad because people are gonna eat you up and eat you alive about the fact that you got mad. Because it's like, what you trying to say? But I also have a different opinion when it comes to the whole inclusion, when it comes to sports, as far as competing in like contact sports. So I think it's a little different for if a woman wants to go out there and be tackled by a bunch of men on a football field.
Because I was gonna present to you, let's say UFC or MMA. Why not a mixed gender fight there?
That's hard to do.
Right.
That's hard to do. Like you want to see Ronda Rousey versus
John Bones Jones.
Exactly. That'd be a massacre. And it's not to say that she's not a great fighter, but it's just that they are different weight classes, different strengths, different builds. Like it's also posing the question of putting like a transgender woman into a UFC fight against a gendered woman.
I know, and that's what my point. I feel like here's what I think. I think there's nothing wrong with having girls, and there's nothing wrong with having boys. Okay, on two separate sides. I do think that they should be fairly compensated for the same work, but I don't see anything wrong with there being a WNBA as long as the same amount of money is being backed for that sport as it is for the men. I don't think they should come together. I think it's dangerous. I just don't think that it's right, and I don't think that I don't think it's physically safe for the women, and I don't think it's mentally safe for the men.
Mm.
Because if a man is beating up on a woman out there on the court, then she's in danger. But if a woman is beating up on a man on that court, he's in danger. So I just feel like everybody needs to stay in their lane, because you're gonna like trickle down this hole because y'all done went through. Well, what if this? Well, what if that? Well, what if this? That's what happens when we go down this road.
I would say a safe sport would be like golf, tennis, even baseball and soccer.
They do it in tennis already.
Yeah. So I feel those.
Doubles.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, like I said, contact, no.
Right.
What about baseball? That'd be interesting.
That would be, because you got some women out there that destroyed in softball, and they could probably do just as good in baseball. Yeah. They got some arms on them too.
Yeah. True that. Okay. So did you guys see? Obviously, I talked about the whole sellout thing, but did you see Kendrick Perkins' response on First Take to Kevin Durant calling him a sellout? Did y'all see it?
I mean, when he started backstepping?
He started backstepping, but just the things he was saying, to me, it was cringeworthy to watch, because I felt like some of the things he was saying, which I felt like he just didn't articulate his emotion very well, but some of the things he was saying was kind of speaking to Kevin Durant's statement.
I mean, they were teammates.
So like when he brought up the fact that y'all don't know what I go through every day. I live in $1 million community, and I get emails from the homeowners association all the time, and it's like, dude, are you really that disconnected that you're comparing your experience in your $1 million community to what everyone in the world is going through as far as it's concerned? And I can't even, when I pull up to drop my son off at practice, I gotta sit and wait a couple more minutes because I don't know what the white kid's gonna do to him. Are you kidding? That's your biggest issue,
right?
And then he says all that, but then goes into, oh, you don't remember when my wife was cooking you oxtails and macaroni and cheese? And I'm like,
he was a little touched.
Like, I've heard he's not the most articulate person, but I just felt like he didn't make a good case for not being called a sellout. Not that he's a sellout for what he said. He just had an opinion. But he need a PR person or something that could have got behind him on how to respond, right?
Yeah, he almost shouldn't have said. He really shouldn't have attacked Kyrie to begin with. He should have just let Kyrie's comment be Kyrie's comment. That's Kyrie's personal opinion on the matter. It's his viewpoint. Kyrie's not required to go speak to anybody before saying, because Kyrie is actually pretty intelligent and he's pretty articulate. So Kyrie didn't need to go, but Kyrie made a really good point especially about the part about starting your own. I mean, that's been in discussion for a while. It wouldn't be the first time we had our own black basketball league. So nothing that Kyrie said was wrong, but Perkins did not have to come after him. And when you do that, you open up the door for anybody to come back at you. And KD was just sitting there.
Like, how you gonna publicly dog him out and then apologize to Kyrie after you crying about what somebody said about you? It's like, you said something about him, and then somebody came in his defense, and now you sitting here on national TV going, oh, he said this about me, but I'm sorry, Kyrie, about what I said about you, but why you call me that? Like, I just thought it was really weird to watch, and watching it, like at the end of it, Stephen A. and Max's face after he got done talking, they both were just blinking. I was like, they don't know what to say to this man, because it was just,
they're like, go to commercial.
Right.
Yeah. I just thought it was a little embarrassing, I felt, but whatever. All right, moving right along. Okay, so let's talk about NASCAR and what's been happening there. James, just give me your thoughts on the whole situation as far as Bubba is concerned and that whole Confederate flag situation. I don't know the gentleman's name who quit, but nobody cared. I don't remember his name.
Yeah, no one. NASCAR didn't know his name.
No, nobody cared. But I guess for me, I was a little shocked because when I think NASCAR, I automatically think redneck, and I automatically see a Confederate flag. However, to see people rally behind Bubba, whether it was sincere or not, I was shocked. Were you guys shocked? Or, I mean, maybe y'all are more into NASCAR or know more about that lane to know that people aren't so. Because that's the first thing I think of is redneck when I think NASCAR.
It's funny you say that because like when I think of NASCAR, the first thing I think of is Dukes of Hazzard. In the Junior Elite, yeah. So, and we all know that car had a big old Confederate flag on the top of it. So that's the first thing that's always popped in my head about that next to Ricky Bobby. But in Talladega Nights. But no, when it comes to Babba Wallace, it was sad, and we know no black person is gonna say that they saw a noose and they didn't see a noose. And for him to be if there are more black people around, okay, you may be able to put more credits to the fact, okay, maybe he's just trying to get some interest. But no, you're the only black person there. If you're going to lie about there being a noose, you do know that there may become a real noose, for lack of a better phrase, because you're trying to be the boy that cried wolf. So for the investigation, all the things that came with that, to try to act like, nah, it was just a rope tied to the door to pull down. No, it wasn't. We saw the picture that NASCAR put out outside of one the FBI tried to show us, and NASCAR showed it, and we all know that's the noose. We all know what that is. Now, whoever did it probably made it small so it doesn't stick out. So you may just walk past it and not pay it no attention. Bubba's not stupid.
But it really wasn't even that small. It was big enough to fit around somebody's head and neck. It really wasn't that small to just pull down a garage door or whatever. Some people brought up the fact that as far as them to say, oh, it's been there for months. Well, who was there before? And they didn't think, let me take this down because it could be offensive. Or nobody saw, you know what I'm saying? Like, somebody had to see something prior to know that this probably shouldn't be here, especially if we know who's moving in here. We probably should get this taken down, right, Bryant?
No, I totally agree. And it's like I saw a bunch of memes and a bunch of different things about the whole Babba Wallace situation. Like they put him in the same light as Jussie Smollett.
Like, no.
And I'm like, that's kind of messed up because he's not actually the one that saw it in the first place. He only was reported to by somebody else that said, hey, I saw this in the room in the garage, and this is going on. So he never had an eye on it to say, hey, they put a noose in my garage. No, it came from somebody else, and they took ownership of that situation and moved forward with the investigation. And I appreciate the FBI actually doing something, but I don't know if it was the right call to say that, this is what it is so far. They did this in like 2 days. Like it was a 2-day investigation of 2 days. So like when they're doing investigations of other people for like months on end before they even find anything conclusive. So it happened, but there could have been more done for it,
Do you guys think, because again, we know that a lot of people who support that man in the office, the White House, they're not very intelligent. Can we agree?
Yep. Right? Okay.
True. So could it be that when they say this is my special flag, that they really don't know what it represents? Or do you think they know? But could it be that they don't know? They're ignorant. Like some of them really stupid.
Wow.
It's real. Like, come on now. They're not smart.
It's interesting. I saw a old, like, Golden Girls, don't mind me, but it was they actually brought up you saw that too, right?
Yeah.
Right. And how Blanche was like, this is my memories, my fun, and my like the things I grew up with. Yeah. But Don Cheadle's character was like, yo, this is persecution for me. When I see this flag, I think of other things, and you're not seeing my side of it. So that was one of the things that was weird for me moving to Georgia and being in the South. Like I was nervous because all the things I've seen was like, oh, it's nothing but, hey, they're like, they coming with pitchforks, but it's also like we got to think about the things that people see of us too. Like I'm glad that the fact that the Cops show has been canceled. Like it's been canceled. Oh, am I frozen again?
No,
Darn.
we're just into it.
Look, I just gotta make sure. No, it's like, it's interesting that the Cop show has been canceled because a lot of people, this is the only thing they see of us, right? If they see a lot of African Americans on that show, then they're like, oh, that's what they are, right? So if my only interpretation of seeing the Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid with all the people in Georgia are Gone with the Wind or anything like that, then that's like, well, that's what I thought of, that's what I'm gonna think.
Yeah.
So is better portrayal. We need better portrayals of us, better portrayals of them to see each other in better lights,
Yeah.
Because
you only know what you
see,
and the association with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like black people watch, or people watch Cops. They see black people all on Cops. They associate black people with being troublemakers and needing to be arrested. They see Talladega Nights and they see Confederate flags or whatever, so they race cars. They just assume, okay, I'm supposed to have a Confederate flag, not knowing, or maybe not, just being ignorant to, because I doubt that their mama or daddy really taught them what that flag really means. They told them this is our special flag. That's what they was told.
Right.
So, but growing up for me in Ohio, anytime a house had a Confederate flag in a window or on a license plate, my parents always told us what that meant. So I knew when I moved here to Georgia and right around the corner they got it just flying in the wind. I was like, oh, where am I? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? But also, as an example, like you said, with Gone with the Wind, I remember I visited the Smith Plantation, which is here in Atlanta. It's like in Roswell. And just one day, spontaneously, I was like, I just want to go on a tour of a plantation. I just want to see what it looks like, what it's like. So I'll go there. I'm the only black person on the whole tour, right? But I'm ready. I'm like, all right, show me this for real. But I could tell that the tour guide was uncomfortable with me being there because she probably isn't used to black people coming to the plantation. You know what I'm saying? We try to stay away from the plantation. We come to the plantation. But I could tell that she was changing her verbiage and her speech and everything to accommodate me, which I thought was really interesting. So I ended up bringing my friend back later to see if that would happen again. And it happened again. Like, they literally, like, part of their speech was, because when white people see plantation, they think beauty. They think flowers and butterflies and gorgeousness and all that. When we think plantation, we think about picking cotton and being beat and hung from trees. Mm-hmm. So going there, she had I'm sure her whole speech was memorized as far as what she tells on this tour. And we go in the room and she's like, Mr. Smith, he was very proud that he, taught all of his slaves how to read or whatever. Here's a letter from this slave or whatever. She wrote him back asking for her birthday. And all the white people are like, oh, that's so nice. Oh. And I'm sitting there looking like, and then she goes, well, I guess it's never really a good thing to have slaves. You need me to be here to say that? Do you know what I'm saying? Because to her, it was like, this is a beautiful thing. And to all of the other guests, it was, oh, that's so wonderful. But she needed to look at me to be like, oh, but yeah, they were slaves though, right? Like, come on. She didn't want to talk about the slop jars when we went upstairs. And they talked about how they didn't have bathrooms back then. They didn't have plumbing back then. So they used to go to the bathroom and take a doo-doo in a pot. And the slaves would come in and take the pot out and dump it. She didn't want to talk about that. She kept trying to go around what it really was. Like, it was just interesting to see. So it's like, for a lot of the white people who were on that tour with me, they were ignorant. They, like, I guess it was almost like a tune-out. They were tuning out the real, and all they could see was the beauty in it. Anyway, so, but yeah, that's just like, I feel like maybe they're raised to believe that this is your heritage. This is beautiful. This is, the South. And then when you try to take it away from them, they're like, "No, Daddy told me this is special." So I was just trying to play devil's advocate on that maybe they just really don't know.
I mean,
think they choose not to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Because I
tricks that have
remember.
been. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bryant. No, I remember. I forgot the lady's name, and she was a white lady in front of a crowd of a bunch of white women. It's the videos on YouTube and stuff. But she asked all the people in there saying, "If you want to be treated the way that blacks are treated in America now, stand up." No one stood up. She was like,
yeah.
"Y'all must not have heard my question. Everybody stand up." And she's like, "So y'all know how they're treated, but you don't want to be treated that way. So why do you want them to be treated that way? If you don't want the same treatment they're receiving, that means you are choosing to ignore how they're being treated. They're choosing that. And that's why, some of them, there may be some few that really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I will say there's probably some, especially depending on where they grew up. Especially, maybe some of them are Army kids. They've been traveling around the whole country. They may not truly know. Some parents may not really told their children that. But there's a mass majority of them that do know why we don't like the Confederate flag, why some of these building names have to be changed now, why some of these statues need to be taken down, because all you're doing is celebrating slavery. You're celebrating that time frame from over 200 years ago. Like some of my friends we discussed on our podcast, who said, y'all are celebrating a war that y'all lost. Because they didn't win this war down here. They actually lost that. They don't want to acknowledge that part. But you want to keep rising the flag and keep on saying the South will rise again. No, not under that banner.
What does that mean?
Word.
It's like, y'all, you let it go. You have to move forward, and you have to actually, for there to be change, they have to actually acknowledge that there is a problem. And that's really partially of all we're really asking. Acknowledge the problem. Stop acting like it's not real. Stop acting like, you're pushing us down. The systemic racism isn't a real thing. It's a real thing. We've all experienced it in some form or fashion. So stop acting like we don't get fair play. Let's start actually putting you ask us to be fair with y'all, but you won't be fair with us. So
I agree. I feel like, and y'all tell me if y'all feel the same way, I appreciate all of the changes that have come about within the last few weeks. But do y'all feel like they kind of acting like we just came up off the ground like zombies? Like, oh, black people. Oh, Aunt Jemima, that's racist. Oh, let's get rid of Aunt Jemima. We didn't know. You want us to take down the statue of Columbus, and you want us to take down the statue of Abraham Lincoln petting the black man? Oh, we didn't know. Like
I'm not gonna go farther into it, but I've seen some very interesting videos on Facebook, especially the African American man saying that was his history. Have y'all seen that video?
About
no, but I'm not shocked if that's out there.
He was upset that we were taking out. We were that Black Lives Matter are the movements were taking out these different
Confederate statues.
Yes. These statues. You haven't seen that? Oh, I'll send it to you if I can find it. But it was like, what is you, brother? Where have you been smoking, or where have you been? Like,
unfortunately, you know what? It's some of us out there, some of our own. Yeah. Who I saw a video that I didn't watch it yet, but I sent it to myself so I can go back and watch it. She was talking about post-traumatic slavery syndrome, and a lot of us are suffering from the trickle-down effect of that. There's a real deep internal issue. Terry Crews. There's an internal issue with some of us that makes me really sad. So I never like to come down too hard on our people who are like that, because it's something that they are dealing with internally that they're not happy with, as far as who they are and where they've come from and how they want to disassociate themselves with their blackness, and how black people like to disassociate themselves from being African people as we are. It's in our blood. It's who we are. It's just a lot of psychological issues that have been planted in us that are very unfortunate. But anyway, okay, so we've been on here for a while, but I do want to touch on one other thing, because I wouldn't be right if I don't address, this industry here. So, again, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. I have said before on some of my episodes that I'm here to give you the real, not just, the fluffiness of being a professional dancer or cheerleader in professional sports. Unfortunately, there are politics that are involved with that too, and there are some discriminatory things that happen within that community as well. So I wouldn't be right if I sat here and pretended like it doesn't happen in this industry, because it absolutely does happen within professional cheer and dance. And it just so happened we had planned on having this conversation a week ago, but just yesterday something came out on social media that was actually showcasing a situation with the 76ers dancers. I think this happened like maybe 3 years ago with one of their dancers who was a black woman. She was basically being bullied by the non-black teammates on her team. And she shared the video, she shared the statements from the head office and how they kind of like ignored her when it came to her expressing her concerns with what was going on. And my heart was with her because obviously I did 4 seasons in the NBA. Everybody knows what team I cheered for. But I resigned my 4th season. And everyone knows how much I love dance and how much I love performing and things like that. Some people join these teams for wrong reasons. I ain't even gonna knock you and tell you that that don't happen. But for this girl here, it was strictly my passion and love for the stage and performing. So I didn't just wake up one morning and decide I quit. You know what I'm saying? There were things that were happening that some of my teammates at the time probably don't even know about that were happening, that I just had to go. So I know it happens. So my heart was with her, especially in her statement, where she was talking about how she had to go to work every day to do what she loved to do, but it was really hard because of everything that was happening around her. So in a way I can relate more so with that because, I mean, my rookie season, and some of my teammates, if y'all watching, y'all already know what I'm talking about. Our rookie season, it wasn't a black-white thing. It was just, our rookie season was rough. And yeah, but anyways, I want to play the audio from what the girl was saying to the black female. And on this van were not only her and the teammates, but also their coach was also in the background laughing and giggling as this girl was being rude. I'm in the back of a stretch limo right now with all my bitches. I hope you're having fun in the back of your mom's fucking minivan with your 6-head taking selfies of your jiggly ass boobs. When you get your license, give me a call and I'll teach you how to shave your legs. Then I will teach you how to use a tampon because your dirty ass vagina probably smells like fish. Alright? Bye-bye. I will find you in whatever home project you live in. I will come into the west side of Philly just to find your ass, beat the shit out of it, and then get you blacklisted from whatever club you think you can get into. Alright? Bye. That was in January. So, yeah, that was her talking to the black girl who was not in the van, who also stated that she's not from the project. She said, I was scared to release this because I was bullied and racially targeted by my 76ers NBA teammates at the time. I went to my coach, Dana, and the Sixers organization crying out for help so many times and nothing was ever done. They would move my things into the bathroom stall for me to get ready for games. They would make fun of my pictures in a group chat, talking about my black features and send me videos threatening my safety. I did not want them to run me away from a dream I always wanted to accomplish, so I tried my hardest to remain strong through it all. I went through this for 3 years. When I auditioned for my 4th year, this is where I was like, oh girl, you're getting close here. This group of girls called me the night before on the phone saying, your black ass will not be coming back. I still went to the tryout, and unfortunately that was the end of my 76ers dance team career. It didn't stop there. They proceeded to harass me by calling and leaving hateful racial videos saying they would come to the slums of West Philly ghetto and physically harm me. I'm not from the ghetto and never lived in the ghetto, but because I'm black, they decided to say this, laughing and giggling. And then she tags all the people who were in the video. So again, this touched me after being captain as a black girl on the team, and then going into a 4th season, things got real rough and real with how people were feeling. within that organization. So I can understand it. I guess they didn't do anything to help her when she went to the front office about her concerns. They did nothing. They didn't have her back at all, even though she was on the team for 4 years. So I just wanted to play that because it's relative to, obviously, pro cheer and dance industry. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying that, oh, if you're black, it's going to be terrible for you. You're going to have a horrible experience. No. I am happy to see lately here with everything that's been going on, there have been different teams that have been showcasing their African American dancers on their Instagram pages and posting about being strong black women and tagging other teams to do the same. And I love that. And I think that that's great. That hasn't always been the case as far as being boisterous. Well, back when I was dancing, social media wasn't popping like that. I'm an age. But I love to see it now. And I hope that that continues, so that they are showing their solidarity and support of their black teammates, because it's not always there, or it hasn't always been there for all of us. So just general thoughts on what y'all just heard, or like, is it shocking to hear that for y'all, or do you think like, well, duh, it's cheerleading. Of course, there's mean girls.
No, I mean, for me, it's like it's hard being the only one in those kind of situations. I lived in an area where I was one of the only 10 black kids in the school, and I was one of the only ones on my basketball team. So it's hard being in that kind of situation. But I my heart definitely goes out to her, because I know there was things said behind my back or directly to my face that I can only take because I was the only one there, you know what I mean? And it's harder for us to be in those situations when we're trying to follow our dreams or follow our passions, and we have people that want to, oh no, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that, and they have a gang mentality or mob mentality, basically, because you're the only one. Mm-hmm. So it was a hard situation, and there's a lot of hate out there that needs to be squashed, but we have to have people in power or in positions to stop it, or to say, yeah, well, that's not cool, But it's when you're around those kind of people and you're around the same, do you want to be a leader or a faller? And a lot of people end up being fallers because they don't want to step out, even though they know it's wrong.
Yeah, I can not even count on both hands how many times prior to auditioning for the dance team in college, if I could count how many times I was told, you're not going to make it. They're not going to pick you. There's no way. And oh, for real? Oh, and I made it. And same with the Cavs. Oh, you're not going to make it. Oh, they're not going to pick you. Or you're not a threat because I know you're not going to make the team. Oh, and I made it. So I've heard that, and it sucks, but you just got to push through it. James, what's your thoughts on what you heard?
I mean, me growing up being a black male at a predominantly white high school, playing sports and in the band, once again, predominantly white. So 95% of the band is white. I did indoor drumline. Only black, first year there, only black kid on the drumline. Tried out for snare, they put me on cymbal. I mean, I understand how she felt. Unfortunately, that is the behind the doors racism in that avenue that a lot of people don't hear about. For the longest, people will argue with cheerleading a sport. We all know cheer is a sport. I did cheerleading for a very small, minute period of my college career.
You did?
Talk about that later. We'll talk about that another day. But because I still got pain points about how that went. But it was at Tennessee State. But yeah, we'll talk about that offline another day.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Forever.
But of course, it's different in the black culture versus the mixed white culture out there, and you're frowned upon. They don't give people the fair shake because they want you just to go out there and look good and be quiet, don't say nothing. Mm-hmm. And when you start actually having a voice, and you can show that you have a voice and you're actually good at what you do, they get scared. And now they want to talk down to you, want to try to scare you away instead of saying, yo, I want to be just as good as you. They don't see that as an opportunity for them to grow and build. They see it as, I'm going to just put you down because I don't want nobody better than you. I don't want nobody better than me around. And they get scared. They shouldn't be, but it goes back to the fact that they're scared of us. Goes right around to everything going on.
Mm.
Yeah, it sucks. Like I said, it happens in all areas of professionalism. Um, but obviously, like I said, it wouldn't be right if I didn't. If I'm going to sit here and talk about racism in any other facet, I have to talk about it when it comes to pro cheer and dance as well, because I'm not going to be a BSer here and act like these things don't happen. I keep it real. I've always kept it real. Even in my coaching days with girls, I always keep it real. Like, you know, you ain't gonna make it. Like, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. I'm not just gonna tell you all the good things. There may be people out there who want to just make it like it's everything, but I want you to, like, when I talk about audition prep and I talk about being prepared, I'm talking about all of it. I need you to be mentally prepared to be out here and physically prepared, because you think it's all good until you get on that team and you may come across a mean girl. You never know. So it's just how it is. But hopefully that is not the experience for most. And hopefully it's getting better. But yes, that's all I have to say about that. So we've been on here for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Just for all of my PCND viewers, just so you know, I have not forgotten, like I said, about the overview of the Hawks dance audition. I will be coming back to talk about that a little bit, as well as what's going on with the Falcons cheerleaders auditions, and also, of course, any other teams that I hear about. I'll be back to talk about that. I have some sideline classes, like I've been mentioning in every video, but I promise you, for real, they're coming next week, so they will be uploaded to this channel for you to learn. Also, if you are a sports fan, or you are a current or former professional cheerleader or dancer, and you'd like to come on and talk about different topics, feel free to email me at risingwithdawn1@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to speak with you and talk about getting you on the schedule to get you here on the Professional Cheer and Dance Report. So I just want to let you guys, talk about where people can find you. James, if you want to tell the people where they can find your podcast.
Most definitely. Well, myself, you can find me on Instagram at DJ Frisco. That's Frisco. Yes, I am a DJ as well. I forgot to mention that earlier, but a little bit of everything over here. It must be the Gemini in me. But definitely, you can find me and my cohorts over at the Goonaverse, at Goonaverse on Instagram. You can also search for us on Spotify, iHeart Radio, Apple Podcasts, and a bunch of other podcast networks out there. Definitely hit me up. If you got any questions, look forward to hearing from you.
Cool.
And check me out on Facebook, YouTube. No, well, don't check me out on Facebook. No, nobody does. But YouTube at Shooting the Brick. Like I said, I'm on there with my co-host, That Guy Murph TV. You can check us out on Twitch at Credit Striker or That Guy Murph TV as well. And check us out in the gaming world. We are always trying on new games and trying to play that way. And if you want to talk about sports, we'll talk about sports with you.
You guys talk about anime too, right?
Oh, anime. Yes, love anime. But that's for another don't look, anime is awesome. If you want to learn about anime and what shows to get into, we can tell you about that as well.
Dragon Ball Z guy here. Just want to put that out there.
Hey, you're a good guy in my book. What's a Dragon Ball?
Whatever.
Don't worry. You're Bulma. It's okay, Erica. You're Bulma.
Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you both. I just want to say I'm very proud of you both and all of your accomplishments and everything that you have accomplished so far and everywhere that you are going to go. I believe in you, and thank you so much again for being here. Hopefully we can do this again. I know we went a little over what we normally were going to talk about, but hopefully y'all come back again and talk to me. Will y'all do that? Maybe?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you all for watching today. I appreciate you for being here. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.
See ya.
Peace out.